So we move on to another interesting discussion in the retail e-commerce space, which is something that is now gathering a lot of momentum, and I have a full panel to prove the point, which is how artificial intelligence and the offshoots of it, which is to either do with customer support, customer engagement, and capturing the customer data and making it useful, which is something that we are going to take up in this panel. As retailers go omni-channel, e-retailers go offline, there is a whole load of different footprints that are being left out there, which today retailers are capturing and using it to understand, study, and to maximize the learnings they are building on customer behavior. So I have a great panel over here today who've already sort of got the ball rolling in terms of what tomorrow looks like. So Vikram, I'm going to start with you. Today, you know, when you're running a large organization and there is a big bandwidth of retail and a number of stores, how do you sort of capture, you know, the technical aspects of customer behavior? And I'm not going to say only AI, but at large, what is your understanding of the best ways of capturing customer behavior? And if at all artificial intelligence or even, let's say, analytic tools have to be put into process by a retail organizations, what has to be the ultimate outcome? What is the purpose of doing all of it?
Hi. Can you hear me? Yeah, I guess you can. So, Reliance Retail deals with various retail formats, yeah, which are physical, and we have some online formats too. To respond to your first point about how do we capture customer information, well, there is explicit information in the form of transaction information that customers do on a regular basis. On our online platforms, there is again explicit information about customers browsing and their behavior while they are browsing. So we capture things like clickstream data as well as transaction information. In the stores, on the physical side, we capture information about their feedback, you know, when customers either walk out of a store or during various other discussions, we capture customer feedback. So there are different mechanisms to capture customer information. We use this explicit information to then be able to recommend to customers using various tools. Your second point was about what kinds of...
What's the purpose, eventual purpose?
So eventual purpose obviously is, our biggest goal is really to be relevant to the customer and to make the experience absolutely frictionless. So if I have to say two big objectives we want to accomplish is personalization and a frictionless experience, you know. So if I just have to take an example of my, let's say my food format, and I'll now touch a little bit upon the whole AI aspect and where it comes into play, okay. So my first step is, AI is, you know, a lot of people have this myth, this feeling that chatbot is AI. So I just want to make that clear that chatbot is not AI, and there's a whole lot more to AI than just plain chatbots, yeah. So on the personalization front, for example, if I have my food format and we know a customer has been shopping a certain set of products every month or every week, we'd be able to first give them their standard. Using explicit information, using transactions, we tell them, okay, these are the 5 things you've been shopping every week. It's about time for you to, you know, go ahead and shop the next time. So that comes across, say, as a message in some form to the customer. Along with that message, where we would use AI rather, I'm talking more on a personal basis, not specifically on the Reliance front, but where we could use AI really is to say, out of these 5 products that you are buying, one of them looks like a health-specific product, for example. Along with that, realizing that this customer may be health conscious, we could then pitch another product out there saying that, hey, by the way, we've got this new protein shake that's come last week in our store. So being able to use that information, being able to use other customer shopping trends, and being able to use our own information, which is new lines that have been released, put that information together and then recommend to a customer. So that's where really the AI piece starts to come in. So it's not rocket science, it's about just translating basic human selling practices into systems, and make it more efficient.
I'll come to you, Vineet. Future Group, you have been extensively putting analytics at play to understand customer behavior, particularly, when there is big format retailing, trying to understand or even to be, in small stores, you can still be vigilant about the customer. But what do you do in a big format? So where do you see, particularly for Future Group, AI is playing a big role, and what benefit? I'm sure it's been almost more than a year that you have been put the tools to work. What has been the benefit that Future Group has seen?
Sure. So Future Group, by and large, the presence is there in all the kind of the segment, and we are dealing all the type of the customers. The segments are there. So I'm just talking in the context of the Future Group. Like there are three pieces to the what do you ask the question? Like there are three pieces of it. One is like the big data. Another is like your customer, which is like the sitting at the center podium, and we are working for the customer only. And the third piece is like the AI part. So just let me explain what the complexity we have in the larger format. When we are talking the data, like we have the thousands category. Categories means your biscuit is a one category, cooker is a one category, then men's apparel is a one category. Then under those categories, then there are lakhs of products are there, right? And at the same time, we have the thousands of the stores at present. And then when I'm talking to the customer, I think crores customers are there who are coming to our format. So put together the entire permutation and combination, there is a humongous amount of data is there. It's a really big data, I can say. And coming to the second piece, which is the customer, I think when we are talking for the customer, the good 20 crore footfalls are there within our format. And today, it's the era, I can say, it's not only the customer wow experience or not the customer delightment or something. It's the organization should be obsessed with the customer. That's the thing is required today, in today's scenario. So the questions coming in the mind, like, do I know my customer? Or second, what they are buying, and most important, I can say, what they are not buying from us. Like it is like they are coming to our store, but what the things we are missing from our side, which is like the additional and the incremental revenue from the other side. The third piece is like what trigger I can do so that I can buy those things from us, right? So when I'm coming to the AI, like, so in the retail, like a lot of things we are using, I can say. In the inventory piece, inventory management, I can say the Manthan is there, Engage app is there, Tableau, I think we already touched upon, like Tableau is there. Then when I'm talking the fulfillment part, there is we are using the sorter right now. And when I'm talking the customer per se, the customer, we have a lot of this wallet, we are calling it Future Pay, other loyalty tools, we have the Big Bazaar Profit Club, the Payback, we have the tie-up. So put together a lot of things, I think how we can activate our AI part on the big data, apply the AI part on the big data and convert everything like convert to the customer experience and convert to the extra revenue, and automatically the customer experience will be there. I think the top line and bottom line will be there. So I'm just taking the one example, like recently we did some kind of study, the Jalandhar market, the Punjab market, I can say. We studied one customer, like the customer by profession, he's a doctor. We know completely the in and out about the customer, like what is his profession, where he's staying, like generally people, we can, with the geotagging, you can see in the night, it means their home, the day it's like their office or workplace kind of. So what they are buying, when we look at the behavior of the customer, like generally the person is buying in the afternoon time. Then we surprise, okay, how come the man is buying in the afternoon? Then we see, then we study their profession, his profession, he is a doctor. And then we look at the buying pattern, what they are buying and what they are not buying. So we have seen like they are buying the diaper, okay, but the customer is not buying the other categories or the products which are related to the infant. So how we can trigger our thing and how we can encase the thing, like along with the diaper, the customers would buy many more things. So sure. lot of things are happening in this particular piece.
But how far can you go on individually tracking customer like that? That's another question altogether, right? I mean,
so I think
and who's going to sort of eventually make sure that this data is put to use?
So that is also the very important piece what you are talking. I think again when we are talking at the customers, it's not the customers only, it's a customer. N is equal to 1.
Right.
So we have to treat each and every customer individually rather than treating the at a one platform. So
If they talk about putting man force out of work, I think we'll need more man force just to make sure there's enough tracking happening. But thank you, Vineet. I'm going to come to you. You know, at Arvind Internet, you have been seamlessly trying to weave the entire retail as well as the e-retail experience. And as a data scientist, I mean, you know, he made a valid point about tracking a customer. What are the aspects of customer tracking that are really important from an organization's perspective? And what are the, I mean, I would say, what part of the data captured or what part of the analytics are really something that, you know, one can do without?
First of all, being a data scientist, I would strongly advocate that data has a larger role to play in terms of driving consumer experience in this new era of retail. Right? If you just pull back and understand what is a consumer experience. A consumer experience is an output of a consumer journey. So what happens during this consumer journey? There's a lot of data that is captured during this consumer journey. And this data helps us to identify the quality of a particular experience. Right. If I'll have to say, retail, fashion retail, right? These are the quick, adopters in terms of implementing new technologies for two reasons. One, to capture all the data that is that's an output of this journey, and the other part is making sense of this data using or leveraging, artificial intelligence and big data analytics. Now that we've all been speaking about, it's more about a hyper-connected consumer. That is where the focus is more towards. There are two key components that would act as enablers to this. One is, this is what most of us do in the current world, is building one view of a consumer by a brand. The other part is building one view of a brand for the consumer. I will repeat this because it's very important. One is building one view of a consumer by a brand. And the second part is building one view of a brand for a consumer. I would say we are doing a decent job in terms of building one view of a consumer because, we capture data from multiple channels, be it offline, online, m-commerce, marketplaces. So there's a lot of data coming in, right? Transactional in nature, demographics to some extent, right? But there's a significant opportunity in capturing more data. And this data would further, enable better consumer experiences. For example, we all shop online, right? So the discovery and the consideration phase of this journey is being captured through clickstream data, through events, all that. But when you come to an offline world, the same is not happening. So that's a bigger opportunity for us to, capture. Now let's look into the other aspect. That is building one view of a brand for a consumer. We have the data, but are we providing this on a platform that is seamless for a consumer, right? Let's say if I walk into a store, or if I walk into a store that I visit very often, there's a store manager, there's a store executive, he knows me really well, right? The kind of treatment that I would get there is going to be, really phenomenal, right? He knows me personally. Now, if I'm going to walk into the same store in another, or let's say to the same brand to another store in another city, would I get the same preferential treatment? That's a bigger question. For example, if my offline and online journeys are connected, this would help me to give better recommendations. Same time, if all my tech systems, the consumer-facing systems are connected, then this would lead to better consumer experience. Right. So these are two challenges. How does data help? One is identifying all these broken journeys. It could be as simple as, a very inactive inventory index, right? There's a dip in an inactive inventory index. Scan and shop, right? There are large billing queues. There are, express checkout counter that is available at the store, right? And the other part of addressing this is building solutions or products that are more focused towards, consumer touch points as well as, a business touch point. For example, if you'll have to focus more, clienteling. This is a recommendation that you could do at your stores, right? So this is, I know I'm shopping something online, and I come back to the store. Do I get the same experience, right? Do I get the same recommendations, seamless recommendations? Can I have a universal bag across throughout my journey. So how does this universal bag helps? I know what your preferences are, what you've added to the cart, what you've not liked, right? What you've liked. Now, when you visit the store, then that's a, as a store manager or as a store CEO, I have the opportunity to upsell products which were of your interest in the future. So there are multiple things that we've done in the past in terms of descriptive analytics or even predictive analytics. These are still that initial analytics stuff. Now, when we talk about AI, there are better things that we do for a fashion retail. If you look at the entire retail value chain from designing to the store of the future, where this would help us, as Sir rightly said, in terms of personalization.
Sure.
Right. So most of the product that you see on an Amazon or on a Netflix, people who viewed this also viewed this. People who bought this also bought this.
Yeah.
Right. And how do you enable that? That is more through a further aspect of AI, which is called deep learning, and through deep learning, where we do a lot of image processing stuffs and make all this recommendation much better. So that is the application of AI.
Sure. Okay, I'll come back to this again. Yashwant, I'm going to ask you, I can understand in probably food and grocery or probably even in clothes, there is a big play of AI. But, your category, which is jewelry and watches, is probably anyway a big ticket item. So where do you see an AI fit in this category, and also what value it does bring to Titan and Tanishq at large?
Sure. Ritu, that's a good question. I'm going to slightly expand on your question and then first talk about a little bit about, why is AI relevant in retail? So I'm going to be a little provocative here. AI has been called a lot of hype. It's a buzzword and all of that. Is it really important? Is it really required in retail? Is it something which PhD guys do, the R&D guys do and all of that? And these are questions which most businesses and retailers like all of yourself are grappling with. But I see a change. In the last couple of years, what has really happened is that we've seen a lot more AI applications specifically for retail developing. So AI, in my belief, has moved from something which was a novelty technology to a good to have, and these days it's almost become a must-have technology. So let me kind of like elaborate on that. So why is AI required in retail? So to me, there are a couple of fundamental reasons. Okay, first is, as retailers, all of you know that everything starts off with the consumer. So today's consumers, and my esteemed panelists spoke about it, our customer has completely changed. He's become digital, he's become connected and so on and so forth. He wants you to understand him instantaneously, respond to him instantaneously, recommend products to him instantaneously. Now, this kind of capability is very difficult to do with a non-AI solution. So that's where an AI bit can help. The second bit is about, AI is being called the new electricity, of the world. So essentially what it means is that,
And big data is oil.
Absolutely. So essentially what the premise is that AI can do whatever you're doing at a slightly better way. And we see that in practice. For instance, in Titan, when we do forecasting, our AI algorithms do better than, your regular analytics processes and things like that. So typically, when you want more efficiencies, AI can play a big role. The third reason why AI is getting a lot of traction in retail is because AI opens up a lot of new possibilities, new capabilities. See, for instance, if you were to serve recommendations on your website, if you were to do, let's say, fraud analytics, image analytics, these need AI solutions. So these are, to me, three key reasons. The why, Ritu, you were saying, the why is AI relevant for a company or a retailer like Titan. Okay, let me quickly talk about some use cases in Titan. So typically the use cases in Titan are about things like, for instance, the first big use case for us is to elevate our customer experience, and that is relevant for Titan, and I'm sure it's relevant to all of you all here. If you want to provide elevated experience, you definitely need to have AI solution. And the reason being is that research tells us that between 25 to 65% of all consumers research online, purchase offline, and there are multiple combinations thereof. So essentially what is happening is that, a lot of people are running through multiple channels, calling up your customer service, understanding where your store is, researching something on the internet, and then deciding to come to the store. So you need to provide a seamless connected experience, and therefore in trying to provide a seamless connected experience, you need technology. and definitely AI has a core role to play. So that would be the first use case in Titan. The second thing, very surprisingly, is it can empower people. So, for instance, all of us know about this one salesman in this particular store who could sell, twice as much as everybody else. So AI gives us tools which can enable most of our sales teams to perform at the same level. So essentially, tools around recommendations, tools around understanding your customers can help make AI, really work for you all. The third use case is marketing. Marketing, all of us know, is a combination of art and science. But today, if you really look at marketing, the whole marketing world is being pushed towards digital marketing, right? And in digital marketing, thankfully, the art part of it is slowly reducing. So it is more science than art these days. So again, marketing is another big area where Titan is using AI. The next area is merchandising. Inventory, merchandising, and inventory management is probably some of the toughest problems a retailer can have. How do you decide which is the right assortment in a store? How do you decide what should be your portfolio? Should you have 5,000 products? Should you have 4,500 products? All of these problems are difficult problems, and AI can play a big role there. The last aspect is, again, consumer insight. The importance of consumer insight cannot be overstated. So AI is helping companies like Titan also leverage their customer data, make inferences, and so on and so forth. So these are, I would say, the 5 areas where Titan is really engaged. And today at Titan, we are a profit center due to the kind of work which Titan is doing in terms of campaigns and things like that.
Sure. No, I think that is extremely important to understand, and I think particularly a point that it can actually help you build a profit center within the organization. It is all the more a compelling reason why everybody should be in retail and e-commerce shifting towards AI. Let me come to the people who actually make it possible. Would love to know, Kiran, why, what is still, while I see all our big retailers out here who have actively adopted AI, but I think overall, if you look at the scheme of things, the AI adoption is still fairly small. Understanding analytics is still not happened to the extent it should. What do you think are the hiccups? What is it that is still keeping retailers and probably small and medium retailers away from adopting AI and understanding analytics? Is it more technical a challenge, or do you think the challenges are more in terms of just the investment, or probably to do with who's going to manage the whole system?
Yeah, I got what you're saying is earlier in our conversation when we are discussing, people were saying, I should tell a story before this. I have been observing the entrepreneurs of India very closely from almost like I started when I am 17. So I am trying to understand them, even myself. When for us, process, technology, everything comes only when we become big. If we are small, we don't want any technology. That is the standard mindset I see 99.9%. None of us really put process first, technology first, then business. No. Western world mostly works like this. They put process first, technology first, then business will onboard automatically. We believe in saying that, okay, today I'm doing 100 crores, I'm okay. If I'm going 150 crores, I just want to do something different. Till then I'm okay. That is the first blockchain. First blockage, you can call it.
And in the egg story, yeah?
Yeah, this is the end of the story. That is the reason the adoption of technology at retail has become very, very slow. I'm talking about small business. Earlier he also told that for 100 crore business it works, but not for the thousands of crores. I know the problem also. I have, as a technology company, we are empowering right now almost like 10,000 retailers are on board on our platform. We understand the psychological aspects of them also.
So now tell me this, that what part of it, let's say if there is a small and medium retailer, what part of it is something that they would want you to manage, and what part is it that they would happy to manage themselves?
Yes, I have a very strong case study on this. I'll take a little bit back step on what we have discussed till now. I'll come to a little bit the AI. We are using this for almost 3 years now. The AI system will help the retailer to buy very efficiently and help to, for example, he is putting a cash kept left 10 lakh rupees, for example. In this, optimize it by what is actually your demand looks like. So we are actually generating the demand forecast based on his purchasing patterns. So this is a one big application of AI, is what we do. We are doing from a long time. It is now we are being accepted by the brands like ExxonMobil globally. Like now we have done like the 10,000 retailers are onboarded on a single platform. And by today, earlier when we started, the production accuracy was 8%. Now with the help of secondary and tertiary data, we came to close to 78% today. Still, I'm telling you where we are still going ahead. We are looking at accuracy of 90% because adoption is becoming a challenge still.
Sure. Vikram, you wanted to add something to this?
I just want to add to your point. So my colleague here talked about where AI can be used, inventory, marketing, sales, various places, right? I think where the challenge probably lies in adoption is in defining the problem, in my opinion, okay? There are so many places that AI can be used across the whole retail life cycle,
Correct.
okay, that I feel people should not really start by saying AI, okay? They should start by saying, what's the problem I want to solve? Okay, do I want to make a very specific recommendation to a customer? Do I want to improve my forecasting? Do I want to improve my range? Those kinds of things. So I think that's where, and then comes technology, because once you define the problem, then what technology holds it? Management of technology, large scale, you're dealing with unstructured data now, so it's not just standard transactions. So technology comes into play. And then third, I guess, will be your privacy of data. That where do you kind of hold your horses and say, I don't want to share too much information.
Sure.
That's how it is.
So I'm going to come to Balaji at this stage, and Balaji runs Inventor Robotics, which is perhaps one of India's first robotics company, and he's also got a big play happening in robotics in the retail and e-commerce industry, and our friend here is just there, which is a proof of concept. So Balaji, how do you see, so are you sort of more convinced that there is a case for social robots, or there is a case for back-end robots, which is to actually make your processes and functions easier?
So there is going to be a convergence of both. I have been in the world's largest technology company, been a part of web as well as like social media, mobile, since the earliest of the stages. I've seen the time when nobody was interested in it to suddenly everything changing. So same way what is going to happen is going to be platforms going to emerge, just like what happened in social media as well as in mobile. There is going to be platforms that is going to emerge, that is going to converge both the back end and the front end of it. So these are not going to be two separate ones. So when people think of robots, they think of like, okay, there's something 10 years away. I'm saying that is just like, few weeks and months away, not years away. The key problems are, how do we bring intelligence into the physical world? So my esteemed colleagues have been talking about bringing the analytics and bringing in the smartness. The key for us is, how do we bring all of that in the moment of truth? When the customer is picking up the product and choosing between a product A and product B in the shelf, how are you going to influence that decision at that time without them having to do a big thing like having an app in their thing? So the last 2-3 years we have been seeing app installations and app usage for special this thing coming down, and attention is a huge problem for anyone, especially retailers. Now how do you get the customer attention, because they are not going to be looking at your app? How are you going to get the attention? How are you going to deliver that AI to that? That is a huge problem. And so we have been trying to solve that through social robots, and hearing from the customers that along with the social robots, you need to have something that goes along with the shopper throughout their shopping journey and guiding through them. So that is where we introduced this thing called the Spot, that is going to have a basket on top of it. It is either could be used on a back-end warehouse or in a front-end this thing. That is the reusability that we are talking about. Now this recognizes the customer as soon as they enter into the store. And from that point onwards, it's going to keep recommending products based on where they are in the store and keep guiding them. Because the current customer is looking at very smart options, because in the digital world, they are used to very smart options. Your Amazon, your Google, and all those have spoiled you, they have given you extremely good this thing. But what happens in the physical world? And that is where the key problem that we are trying to solve. How do we bring context? How do we bring the kind of recommendations at the moment of truth? Not before, not later, at the moment.
Sure. So, I have been getting complete prompts on time, but very quickly I'm going to ask you this one question and very quick answer on this. If a chain retailer and an emerging one is looking to sort of make an investment in AI and in analytics, where should he start first? Back of the house or front of the house? So please, we'll keep it like one line, one sort of sentiment behind it.
You can't start back of house, front of house, you have to start both places. It's not possible to pick one.
Sure.
I think it's applicable for the entire journey of the retail. It's not for the front or back or mid or something like that. So from the customer sense, I think we may touch that thing at last. From the merchandise, maybe we can touch it first. But I think it is applicable for the entire journey.
The whole universe has to collectively function.
It is important across, both the places, but one should know how to prioritize this. You cannot have everything at one go. So where do you start is a bigger question.
So typically what we do is that we use something called a decision matrix. So on one axis you have the benefits, and it's possible to quantify the benefits of whatever solution. So to me the question is not front end or back end, what is the benefits? So on one scale you put down the complexity, and the other side you put down the benefits, and you pick up the ones which are in the, hopefully the top or the middle quadrant. So that's how we work.
What would you, okay.
I would say like operations heavy companies should look at the back end. If your core strength is operations, then you should be looking at the back end side of automation first.
But retail is always operations heavy, right?
But some of the customer companies are very experience centric, and so it is all about relative strengths. If you're more experience centric, then you should start on the front end. So depends on what your core strength relative to others in the industry.
Sure.
As a technology company, I say we treat it as one. There is nothing called front end, back end. It is a workflow where the data starts capturing and where we are processing the data. So it is not at all two. I say it is only one. You have to formulate your blueprint properly. So the blueprint itself will give you where to start and where to end. This has only start and end. It does not have a front end and back end, according to me.
Sure.
As an automation company, we treat like that.
Okay.
Just to add on, the retail is like it's a relay race, right? And the AI is like it's not the one episode. You will get the real juice or the real advantage when it's applicable cross-functional and cross-department. Otherwise, you can't.
Sure. Well, so with that, I'm going to have to close this session where Anisha has been like literally, I thought if she'll just come on the stage if I didn't stop now.
Ritu, I think everybody is getting very hungry, so we have more sessions. But this is really a great discussion, food for thought, how AI would work. I would like to thank all speakers for giving us their insights on how technology can help in different processes in the retail business. I would request Ritu to please give all our speakers a little token of our appreciation. I would request Ritu to please present Mr. Balaji Vishwanathan, memento from our side in appreciation for taking the time out and speaking to us about how technology can change the face of retail. A big round of applause for our speakers, please. I would request a memento to be presented to Mr. Yashwant Kumar, Head of Analytics and Insight at Titan. We appreciate the time Mr. Vineet Jain, the CEO of Future Group North, has taken to come to this conference and share with us his views on how retail will flourish using technology going ahead. Please present a memento to Mr. Vikram Itnani, Senior Vice President and Head IT at Reliance Retail. A round of applause for our speakers, please. A memento for Mr. Uday Kiran Please present a memento to Mr. Navneet Shanmugam, Chief Data Scientist and Director of Analytics Partnerships, Arvind Internet. A big round of applause for all our speakers here, please. I request all the speakers to please come forward for a group photograph. Please put your hands together for all our speakers and for the session's moderator, Ritu Maria.